Hello and welcome to episode 8 of our Timberborn Update 7 Folktails playthrough here in hard mode, cycle 11, day 9. We've got 12 days left in our drought, and it's been a while since I posted a video, so again, apologies for that. I've been dealing with something that's made it very, very hard to talk and get a whole bunch of stuff done, so I do appreciate your patience and understanding, bearing with me. It's voice quality in this one's not really going to be that great, but we got to get back to it. The beavers wait for no man, and neither does YouTube. So today's episode, back here into this series, I think is going to be very important for us to focus on really improving industry and making some more strides toward automating stuff. Eventually, remember, bots are still a long way off, but if we set things up correctly, we're probably going to be able to get there pretty soon. A lot sooner than you might think, because remember, we already have a pretty good handle on metal production, but this isn't going to last forever here. There is still, a lot of metal all around the map, and there's different things that we haven't really taken full advantage of that I think we would be in a very, very good position to try to do as quickly as possible and see what other kind of fun stuff we can get set up. Because of the changes in Update 7, I really want to take advantage of the new terrain stuff. And I think one of the easiest ways to accomplish that is going to be to take off as much of the burden as possible from our bio beavers, so that we can focus on getting a bunch of other stuff put in, and so on and so forth. And these zip lines, as we've seen, have been a tremendous addition to everything that we've done so far. And this is episode 8, and we already have all of this stuff taken care of. We got large water storage, just got finished. Well, not literally just got finished, but very recently. And we've already used a considerably larger portion of the map than I typically do this early in a playthrough. But right off the bat, a number of things to address. Thanks to you guys, as always, keeping me honest in the comments. Yes, these are not connected to anything. So let's go ahead and just fix that really quick. If I can put the correct thing in there, that would be fantastic. But yeah, this right here, this T intersection, definitely should have got put in first, but you know how it goes. We'll go ahead and get that taken care of. And the eternal debate about me and my water physics and math, I don't think I'm ever going to win that one. But yes, we will be putting sluices, or not sluices, dam pieces. These things. Bear with me, folks. I'm trying really hard. We got to put these things in somewhere. And while the logical thing probably would be to put them here so it just overflows into the same channel, if we put them over here, instead of having these triple floodgates here, if we put in just dams for general overflow no matter what, and there's enough space for all of the edges that need to be there, then what will happen is, because this will be lowered during a temperate season or a drought, any extra water that can't go through here and can't fill this up will just come right the way through here. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's actually the correct way to do it. I'm pretty sure it should be fine. And remember, our total amount coming through here, go into dev mode just to show you. 1, 2, 3. So we've established that. Probably at least 4 or 5 times. It's driving you insane, I know. But 3 coming across here. If these are dams instead of triple floodgates, then that will be 2.2 plus 2.2 is 4.4. And last time I checked, that's more than 3. So, if you know for a fact that that is incorrect, please let me know immediately. I'm not going to get mad. I just need to know. But unless you have a time machine, and none of you have demonstrated so far that you do, unless you have a time machine, I'm not going to know until after I post this video. But, we got 11 and a half days. I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's get rid of these, and then come back behind here with that right there, and put in these 2 damn pieces here. And that way, no matter what it is, it's going to come right on through here, and there won't be any problems. No matter what. So, they'll take care of that in due time. And it looks like these are all connected now, just in time for the woodbills to not be doing anything. But yeah, like I said, last episode, or maybe the episode before, the design for this is going to kind of depend on us turning this area into something slightly different. And we've had a couple of ideas that I really liked looking at the comments. One specifically, I don't remember exactly who it was who posted it, but, since we do have the 3D terrain that we can take advantage of just as soon as we get dirt excavators unlocked and the overhangs and all that stuff, somebody said, hey, why don't you put overhangs on top of your Badwater sources? And then you could have your good water irrigation, take care of turning that terrain usable, and then you'd have a fantastic opportunity to have farming on top of your Badwater waste, and you don't even have to look at it. And I thought that was a really cool idea. So obviously we can't do that yet, but if you think that's a cool idea, please do let me know, because I definitely would like to do stuff that you guys like, and that I like, and that ends up being a beneficial thing for the playthrough. So just file that one away, and let me know your thoughts on that as we continue moving forward here. Other stuff that got a lot of comments was the dandelions and the berries cannot be harvested because there's no gatherer flag. And we also have the ability to plant a couple berry bushes behind here, which we definitely should be doing. And based on how this is set up, I don't think I'm going to be super in the wrong to get rid of a bunch of these dandelions and then just replace them with berries. You take a look at the growth cycle on this. Dandelions every 3 days, they make 1 dandelion. Berries every 3 days, or every 4 days, they make 1 berry. So, if we have 8 berries and we have these guys, we're not going to need hardly any of this stuff anyway. It's just one of those things, you want to have access to it, you want to have it before you need it, because if you need it and you don't have it, it's already too late, and then you know how that goes. So, we are going to do that. And then, before we get too far removed from that thought process, we do want to get an herbalist going, and we want to make sure that we have the antidote ready to go, again, before we need it. So that's all stuff that will come in due time. Just got to do it. Just got to make it happen. But since we're in that spot right now where we have these growing and we're not even really doing anything with them, we're just going to go ahead and get this gatherer flag so they can start gathering from the flag and make a deposit in our little dandelion storage. Because you're not going to get anything done if you never start, right? We've said that like a billion times. All right, other stuff that was mentioned in the comments, and there's a lot of really, really good ones. I can't address everybody by name, and if I tried, I'd obviously forget, and then, might as well just say, don't even bother. But I always read the comments. I'm very, very, very grateful to each and every one of you who submit stuff, because, like I say, it's a Let's Play, not a Watch Me Play. I want to make sure we're doing stuff that makes sense and doing stuff that you guys want to see. I told you guys, bear with me, I'm trying real hard. We have these areas in the map that have all these depressions and everything, and I think it would be really smart as we continue moving along to take advantage, like I said, of the 3D terrain, like specifically right here. Wouldn't it be really cool if our reservoir eventually got moved up a little higher, but if we had like a tunnel through the terrain that filled this up, like a little secret pool lake thing. I just think that would be cool. All the fun new stuff that comes with the update you want to take advantage of when you can, right? So that's something that we can work on. Here especially would probably be a very good place to put a big reservoir lake type thing. We just don't currently have the water throughput to justify dumping it in a hole like this, but just so we're on the same page, we're keeping everything in the front of our mind or the back of our mind, depending on how you want to describe filing information away. This is something that I do want to eventually do, making more of the map green, making it more habitable, and taking advantage of the different opportunities that we've got here. But like I said, many, many times, we do have to get this all taken care of, get more industrial capacity going, set up to this, I guess, kind of reliable power source at this point, because we have the windmills, we've got the gravity batteries, and we have all this other stuff taken care of. And this, more specifically, needs to go away. So, you see how that's going. But over here, we've cut down all the trees. We have log storage here, and that's totally fine. This is actually producing a pretty decent amount of power. But now we're starting to get to the point where we're filling up our metal storage, and we need more. So obviously, the easy solution there is to just build another large pile for the metal blocks and just let these guys keep going. Because there's absolutely no harm in having a ton of metal stockpiled. You just got to be able to make sure that you're making the most out of your resources whenever you can. The best possible option there. So, like I said, industrial stuff is a priority. This terrain is kind of in the way here, and I know it's not really possible for us at this exact moment to get into doing dynamite and all that, but we're going to want to start manipulating the terrain over in this area, probably sooner rather than later, just so we can have a little bit of an easier time getting stuff situated. So, explosives factories and all that. We have the science to do it. The problem that we're going to run into is we don't have Badwater. But remember, this is the perfect spot to set stuff up because this is where the Badwater is going to be coming from, at least until we either cap this or put rigs on it or whatever. But I don't think we're going to end up doing that just because we have this as a power source as well. But I see that this has been fixed, so hopefully that will mean that we won't have any problems over here. I don't anticipate that we're going to run into a tremendous quantity of grief as a result of doing that. But let's go ahead and get Badwater pumps unlocked. And I know this is not the perfect location for anything, but you might as well just put one in here just so you have it. Just get something ready to go. And I'm going to put in, just so we have the ability to maybe do this a little bit quicker. Just a little bit quicker. And it's so cheap to build these. We might as well just go ahead and put in 2. So we can get a decent amount coming out at one point in time. And then I'm going to have to put in a tank to store all this garbage, which doesn't really have to be anywhere specific. But since this is honestly kind of a mess over here, I wanted to redo this anyway. If we just said, okay, we don't need to be pumping water out of this side because it's not really anywhere close to anything that's going to make a whole lot of sense. We might as well have them pump a little bit closer to the center of the town. But if you notice, this is actually not a terrible place to do this. I need to take these guys out here. But they have the zipline right here. We have a little bit of storage here. And then right across from this, we have this guy. It's all good. Now, all that being said, take this out at triple speed for a second. That doesn't mean we have to have these little tanks absolutely everywhere. We can do ourselves a favor, and we can clean this up just a touch. So what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to have to replace probably what would make the most sense, since this is going to be clean water no matter what, is I'm just going to replace this right here. Oh, see, this doesn't make any sense at all how I did that, so... No, but I'm going to replace these with this right here, and then that's going to open up space for us to put in a medium tank here. Or I could even put a large one if I really wanted to. So do what I do, not what I say. I know that's normally the other way around, but sometimes when your brain's trying real hard and it can't succeed, you gotta let it take one for the team. What does that mean? I don't even know. All right, I don't know, but we're trying real hard, folks. So that's gonna go right there. Make that nice and simple for Badwater. This is all going to get moved anyway by the time we get around to doing all this other stuff. We just got to make it happen. Got to do what we got to do. And these little ones here, again, need to go away, but we're not really in a position at this exact moment to replace them. We will be once we can detonate some terrain and get all that taken care of. And I know we got 6 days before we're going to have anything here. We just want to make sure we're staying ahead of everything and doing what we can do. So if you remember last episode, I came in here and I put in these water wheels and we talked a little bit about the flow rate coming off of here, and I explained why I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal. But before we get any further into this mess, I do think it's going to be probably a smart choice for us to go ahead and put in these 2 levees here to add additional teeth. So we're going to go from having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these edges to having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get the idea. More than 6. But obviously to get down there, we have to send these guys on a little bit of a wild goose chase. And by wild goose chase, I mean coming down this way. That's not going to work. That's going to have to be a ladder. Come down that way, come down that way, so they can access all of this stuff, which of course is going to be removed. But you get the idea. I want them to be able to have this in place so that there's basically no chance this backs up and overflows, which we do have the option of increasing the height of the walls here, and at some point that's going to have to be done. But we've got other stuff to take care of. Got other stuff that's a little bit more important, especially in terms of securing this, or I guess the future of this area is being a lot more useful. So they'll put these in place. Go ahead and prioritize. If I can please click on the button. Thank you. And then I'm going to start laying the groundwork for other stuff to go on top of here. Since we have so many logs with so many planks relative to where we thought we were going to be, I'm not going to be concerned about quote-unquote wasting materials doing this. I think it's totally fine. Because I want to be able to, as soon as we have the ability to get this terrain out of the way, I want to come in here and I want to get stuff done quick. So if we can kind of pre-build most of this, then I think we're going to be in a tremendous, tremendous spot. So why not let them build it ahead of time a little bit? And I know we can put terrain here once we have terrain, but right now we don't have terrain, so we don't need to worry about that just quite yet. Let these guys continue pumping. Remember, we have plenty of storage now. Obviously need to keep on going as time goes by, but you know how it goes. Just got to do little bits and pieces at a time. So I think I can get a couple more blueberry bushes in the back here. We should have some dandelions in storage. We got 22. Very good. And yes, these have died. It's going to drain, and it's going to be fine. That's just one of those dumb things that I did. I know, shocker, that never happens. But hopefully, now that this is what it is, we're not going to have those problems anymore. And in fact, we're going to increase the height of this eventually anyway. But if I felt like it was going to be that big of a problem, then I would probably want to come in here and increase the height. But I think this is a little... Wow, they actually finished this already? Alright, well, consider me thoroughly corrected. Let's get this removed. And we also kind of need to talk about power transmission between things. I saw a couple people leave comments wondering how this was all hooked up together, and was this actually all connected? We'll take a look at these power shafts turning here. This says we have a power supply of 212 currently, which is what's coming from these two windmills. And, of course, we have the gravity batteries as well. So that's connected to these three guys here. This goes through here, which then comes up. We peel these layers back a little bit. Comes up into the bottom of this gear workshop, and then these two are connected here, obviously. And then these two are connected here. It's all connected. It all works. Even if each wheel isn't technically connected to a building, everything's good to go. We just have to, remember that when we're demolishing, moving stuff around, that depending on what we, disconnect, we might end up causing problems. So you want to take an idea of what you're doing and make sure that you know what, if you're going to remove something, it's going to incur a cost. And you're going to have to be prepared for that. But fortunately, we're in a really good position for most of this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get this path out of here. And we can go ahead, before the water comes in, go ahead and put in these other water wheels. So we'll have a total of 10 down here. And that's going to generate a pretty prodigious amount of power. PPP if you want. But once that's taken care of, we could decide to probably replace one or both of these, since the cost is so minimal in comparison with a vertical power, or not a vertical power shaft, an upward power shaft. So I think that probably would be a prudent thing to be doing. Oh, that guy just kind of scooted across nowhere. That's kind of cool. All right, there we go. Just so we don't cause any problems in the future. While we have the chance, might as well do something that makes sense, right? You don't have to make it harder for yourself. Unless you like that kind of thing, but I'm not the person you should be talking to about that anyway, so we're going to move on. I think for the benefit of what we're trying to do right now, I don't want to wait to have terraforming or anything. I'm just going to put these platforms down because, again, the cost is so small, relatively speaking, that we might as well just go ahead and build stuff out and then hook it up when the time comes. Now, we have 3 lumber mills. We take a look at our math here. I know. Alarm bells are sounding. I'm attempting to do math. Every 1.3 hours, each one gives us a plank. You look at the gear workshop, every 1 hour we get a third of a gear. So, the math doesn't quite work out, and there's a little bit of slush in there. But in theory, one of these lumber mills could support 3 gear workshops. In theory. You know what? That actually might be wrong. You know what? Whatever. I don't know. Come for me in the comments if you want. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that down here probably, assuming this math lines up, probably should be 5 gear workshops, or we can say 4 gear workshops. Let's pause these two because you know they like to build the closest one first sometimes with the most inopportune time. I'm going to put 3 of these here, and then I'm going to put a 4th one here. And I'm gonna avert disaster before it happens, and I'm just gonna put a 4th one of these lumber mills in place. But I don't know what I was trying to say by saying that. And I'm sure that's gonna be absolutely just completely wrong. But whatever. It's okay. It's okay. We're trying, but we need to get ahead of gears in a tremendous way because we're gonna be consuming a lot of them when we get to bots. We get to all this other stuff. Remember that the terraforming takes 100 of these things, and we also have to have the treated planks, which is not something we've been working on at all, if you've been paying attention. So we're going to want to plant some pine trees, whether that's in this wood farm area, or whether that's somewhere else. It's probably going to behoove us to go ahead and look into doing some additional irrigation stuff at some point, and take advantage of all that. Because remember, we also have maples as well, and those will be, what's the word? That's the wrong tab. That's the wrong tab. Where is it? There it is, Tapper Shack. This building. They put stuff in trees and get juice out of them. they get the pine resin, they get the maple syrup. So, the sooner we have dynamite, the easier it's going to be to do stuff like that. Like, see, there's a reason for all of this, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if you can't follow my insane ramblings here, there is a thought process behind it, and for the most part, it makes sense, or it will make sense once everything is revealed, right? But we have to identify good sites for some of that, and we have this up here, which already does have some dead pine trees on it, but dead trees don't do us any good. And if I'm gonna put in a giant tree farm, I'd like it to be in one spot that we could just kind of, you know, have the entire thing just be trees on a big flat area. And there's not really that many spots on this side of the map that are like that. But over here, you see all this, where we have our ruins here, and we have this zipline station all ready to go. This would be a great place to have a tree farm. Now, do we want to wait long enough for that to be a thing that we realistically could do something with? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a decision each individual person is going to probably make a little bit differently. But we do have space over here already that has no metal on it or whatever, and it's still pretty close to the zipline station. Again, we don't have the dynamite yet, but we will. We will. And there's already some power here in the way of windmills. And as we continue getting this metal out of the way, at some point, we're not going to need to have these smelters here anymore. And since this power's already here, we can just turn that into explosives factories or whatever else we want to put over here. There's so many different things we could be doing with the areas we've already kind of set stuff up in that I think would be a smart thing to do. But none of that matters. We don't get the rest of this stuff taken care of in the first place, so we'll go ahead and get this gear workshop ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and take that path out. Get that ladder out of the way because we're not going to need to get down there. And then that pathway goes away as well. You know, I don't remember a ladder having a pathway underneath it. So either I'm completely insane or that's something that they changed. Both of those could still be true. We'll go ahead and put this other gear workshop in place here. Once that's taken care of, that shouldn't be too much longer. And looks like that's done. So the gear workshop's going to go there. And then I'm going to replace this with a lumber mill. Even after I attempted to do math in real time. That's just the way it goes, folks. This guy is just about done. Then all we got to do, pop that in there. We have our plank storage, we have our gear storage, we have our logs. So this is still a pretty efficiently designed area. We just know it can be a whole lot better, and it will be when that time comes. So, we got 2.4 days left in the drought. Water situation's looking good. Food situation's looking good. Carrots, nah, not so great, but everything else is looking really, really nice. We got almost 400 bread. We've got a tremendous quantity of potatoes. Even the sunflower seeds are not looking too shabby. And since we have this extra space here, going to go back to a comment I got a couple of videos ago that I didn't acknowledge, but I wanted to let you guys know about. One of the aesthetic design ideas that was presented was to line some of these paths that don't have anything going on with sunflowers. There's just a nice little bit of visual interest, and I thought that was really great. So, you know, we have all this right here that is going to be in range of various farms, so why not? Why not just do that? It does no harm for us to put some neat-looking stuff in here. So that, I think, is going to be a smart way to go about using a little bit of this space slightly more effectively. Put in another warehouse here. This is for wheat flour. That's for bread. And we might as well check our other storage stuff. Do I have storage for wheat? I might not, actually. I guess probably should check over here. Yeah, this really wouldn't be a fantastic place to store it, but it's all going to get moved around anyway. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to decide that this is going to make more sense as bread storage. Just so we have more storage of an actual food, even though that's not like the best from a density perspective on the potential of any given material to be turned. Whatever, it's fine. More bread's always good. It's like going to the Olive Garden to get your unlimited breads. Do they even do that anymore? I don't know, like the last time I went there, they brought me like 2 breadsticks. I'm like, I thought they were supposed to be unlimited. Looking at whatever. It's fine. You go, you get your breadsticks, get your quote-unquote Italian food, you go home. Everything ends up being fine. So, we got our 1.7 days left. Gonna have to remember to turn these guys back on and get the rest of this situated. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say that we no longer need to have any of this here. The only thing that we need to make sure we can do is we can power a grist mill. So, in keeping with that, I think it's going to make the most sense for us to take the grist mill away from all the way over here. And we'll move it over closer to where the farm actually is. So, if we just say, pop, 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 just like that, sound effects included. Yes, even the windmill. Get that just completely out of there. Instead, what we can do is we can have a grist mill. We could even have 2 if we wanted. We just put in the grist mill right here in a very convenient location. And we're not really going to have any water flowing through here, hopefully ever. So the water wheel is going to be a little bit completely unnecessary. But what we can do is we can put in a windmill, or we could just put in a power wheel and just say, you know what? You want to get some grist mill action going? You're going to have to power it yourself, bud. So, easiest thing for us to do is going to be to just pop in one of these guys right next to it and just say, this is the way it is until we figure out some sort of better solution. And if you got a problem with it, deal with it. Talking about the beavers here, of course, but that's going to be, I think, the most effective way to keep our food production at a slightly less insane distance across from stuff. Kind of clean this up a little bit and maybe think about other activations for this part of the map. Remember that in theory, and I don't really think it makes a difference, but a number of you are concerned about me pumping water out of the reservoir versus pump. It's the same water. It doesn't matter. I don't think it does. I don't know. I can't think of any demonstrable actual difference aside from these pumps are a little bit further away from one of the zipline stations. And yeah, that actually does matter. So I'll hear you on that. And if we're going to go based on that, then I should have more pumps closer in this area. And these are areas that are going to have plenty of opportunity for us to pump pretty much endlessly if this sluice is set up correctly. Which, just to clarify, we can't do any further automation than what this dialogue allows us, which is close above downstream depth, set that to be whatever, and then contamination stuff. But we're not going to have to worry about contamination. Let's get this into wheat flour mode again. And there we go. That should be a tremendously more helpful thing that we've got set up here. And you know what we could do? That would have been really smart is for me to put some storage right next to this thing, but you know how that goes. Let's have him grab all these pieces here, and for the time being, until we have some other like actual demonstrable proof that this is a really stupid thing, it's a really stupid way to do this, I'm just going to put a medium warehouse right here. And I'm going to have that be wheat storage Remember, we're gonna be moving so much of this stuff around. It's not even gonna be funny at some point. But this would be at least a slightly less stupid way of doing this. So with that being said, that's going to improve this, and this opens up some possibilities for what we can do here. If we take these pumps away from here, because remember, this isn't close to a zip line, and it's not particularly close to water storage. If we go ahead and remove these guys, just get those out of there, get this small tank can go away as well. They can clean all that mess up. We have an opportunity, once we get a little bit more into the demolition stuff in just a moment, we can kind of blast this out, and we can start doing aquatic farming here. Because remember, the Folktails have access to the Spatterdock and the cattails, and we're going to want to make sure that we get into that as soon as we can. So I think that's going to be a good way to make use of this space and kind of justify this whole irrigation setup that we've been kind of maybe not necessarily doing the correct thing with for this whole time. So you know how it goes. You know how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and triple speed through the rest of this because this is just about finished. And here we go. Cycle 12 has arrived. Going to get our Badwater pumps filled in here, and we're going to let these guys, as soon as this comes in here, do what they got to do. And there you go. So we should see, assuming that this has been set up correctly, no overflow flooding anywhere over here, because these two edges right here are already more than enough to get all of the flow through this. And of course, we just have to remember to shut this as soon as we get a bad tide coming in, which we have not had to deal with in quite some time. But we've already got some bad water. I have the technology to go ahead and get the explosives factory researched. And that does have to be powered, which I guess maybe a slightly less insane person would have said, I'll just put it right here with the existing infrastructure we had. And then that would have been, you know, an actual smart thing to do. But that didn't happen. So you're going to have to bear with me here for just a little bit while we work with that. We've got all of our water coming through here. Look at that, look at that, look at that. We've got so much power being made. That is very exciting, because you know what else that allows us to do? Is we can come in here, and we can just build right here a tremendously helpful extension where we can place an explosives factory. And, of course, flip it so we have access to this. I think that is going to be the smart thing to do for right now. It's not super far away for us to get in here. Look at this. This is already almost half full. What a great thing we've done here. Not to toot my own horn. Those days are long far behind me. But for those of you who missed that, that's a band reference. But I'm going to go ahead and get the dynamite ready to go so we can start blasting away at all of this mess and get a little bit of a head start on taking care of the rest of this nonsense. Increasing our industry and just getting everything nice and ready to go. I have not forgotten that I've removed some of these water pumps. We will get that fixed. Don't worry. Not going to be that big of a deal. I want to reconfigure most of this anyway. But for the time being... Oh, wow. Drought in 3 days. All right. Well, so in that case, a drought in 3 days, that's going to be an all-hands-on-deck pumping situation. This hasn't quite filled up enough to make use of these guys here. But I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? Everything else that we were so worried about kind of doesn't matter, because now we have to pump more water. So you know how it goes. I've got these builders' huts that can be slightly deprioritized in favor of getting these guys taking more water out. And I know we don't have any other water storage here. Let's take this up at triple speed. Let's go ahead and rectify those problems before that becomes unbearable things that we are not going to be able to deal with. Just put a tank of water there, set to supply. And hopefully that can get built. I mean, there's nothing else that's currently being constructed anyway. Just get that taken care of. Get that taken care of. Remember that just because we're going to have a drought doesn't mean that this is going to be useless, because we put gravity batteries and some windmills in. We can just keep putting more windmills and so on and so forth. And we're just, at this point, we're just doing what we can do with what we got. So what we always try to do, right? So, very, very exciting there. There is some water available here. But that's going to be gone pretty much immediately. Remember what I said earlier about wanting to put a tree farm in this area. And we're going to want to have irrigation. And then, of course, at some point, we're going to want to get into the contamination barriers as well, which we can actually already build. I always forget. For some reason, I see the contamination barrier thing. I'm probably just thinking of the other recipe for the other flavor of this. But I think, oh, I have to have the treated planks. Well, no, not for this one. So we can actually... we obviously don't need to build them yet. But when a bad tide comes in, we are going to have contamination barriers in these general areas. And remember the changes for Update 7. We can't do this anymore. They have to be actually connected. So there's now that visual change that signifies that. We're obviously not going to build these yet, but just so we're all on the same page regarding that, it was a really great suggestion for those of you who did that in previous playthroughs to just kind of, stagger these on corners, but that just so we're all clear that no longer works. Not going to be able to do that. We're going to have to zigzag. But that is a problem for another day. Right now, what we're focused on is getting water stored up, which is why I put these additional pumps in, and we're taking care of everything else. I'm very, very curious to see how our overflow works. And I have no reason to believe it's not going to, but you know how this goes. Sometimes bad things just happen. It seems to be more often than not that I end up running into these things, which is probably more of an indictment of my ability to, have adequate foresight for stuff than anything else. But I digress. Putting this thing in triple speed mode, and hopefully, the next water we see coming out will be right here. And there it is. It's not overflowing. This level is not increasing, as far as I can tell. And now this should see us increase power here. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. We got so much power coming out of this. 3,500. Wow. And importantly, this hasn't flooded either. So this was, it may not have been technically designed in any manner, but it ended up being fine. And this little bit of weir installation, I guess, ended up being adequate in some way, shape, or form. But now we have access to all this, and I know we're going to have, not a whole lot of power generation here really quick. But now we can get access to all these gear workshops, and most importantly, we can continue working our way around the rest of this. So, I'm going to continue blasting over here, and I know we don't have storage for explosives, but I'll tell you what, let's actually just do those little bits there. Let's put in, do I really want to put a medium warehouse in for this? I'm going to put in a small warehouse for dynamite just right next to this guy, because we know that if we're wanting to, say, for example, put an irrigation station right here, then all they got to do is grab the dynamite from this thing, hop on this guy, go just like this, sound effects included, and then pop on over here, and then we can start growing a tree farm, folks. We can get some really cool stuff done. I love the zip lines. I'm so excited to get to the tubes with the iron teeth, but man, I love these things. This has just been such a tremendous asset to the game, and I am so glad we have access to those. What a tremendous update this has been. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have this blasted out, and since this is going to be a tree farm, but not for trees we're going to use for materials, we're going to use the trees for their products. We're going to end up putting a tapper shack on top of here and a water dump. Should be a pretty simple process, and we're of course going to plant probably mostly maples, but some pines as well, and just start the process of utilizing this space for what we want to be utilizing it for. And then, of course, once this is done, I'm going to turn this into a whole thing as well. But for where we are right now, I think this is going to be a good start. We don't necessarily have to wait to put one in over here, but we don't need to rush. We don't need to rush through this stuff. We can just do what makes the most sense at the present time. So just get that taken care of there. Let them do what they're going to do. These guys have actually completely filled their Badwater, which is, I guess, a good problem to have. We do have 330, which, you know, that'll make us a pretty good amount of explosives. We're not going to be doing any crazy amount of exploding. At least I'm not planning on quite yet. So this should be adequate, but I do want them to be able to make as many explosives as they can, which is why I put that in place and started detonating stuff immediately anyway. Because as soon as they take Badwater out of the tank to put in the explosives factory, then they can pump some more, and we definitely want to make sure we're in a good position on that. But our regular drinking water is looking pretty nice as well. And our overflow should stop overflowing at some point and come through here. Don't have to worry about this ever again. We just have to probably replace this with a sluice at some point. But we'll get there when we get there. I don't want to have too many variations at once, or else, you know, you're inviting problems, right? You don't need to invite too many problems. But see, look at this. We got somebody coming down here. Do they have dynamite? No, it looks like this one's bringing logs. Yeah, dehydrated even. You know what we haven't done is we haven't put any drinking water or anything over here. That's probably something we should fix. In fact, let's go at the very least we can put water over here. Just get that done at some point. I think it's going to be a little bit of time before they take care of that. So these guys, yeah, they're still making explosives. I think we've done about as well as we can. I don't know how long this drought's going to be. Probably mid to high teens would be my guess. At some point, we're going to run into the end of the handicap, and then, well, that's going to be that. We could have up to 30 days, and there's nothing we can do about it. But right now, I think all we got to do is figure out what that is going to mean for us, and we'll continue expanding, getting more beavers in here, because, you know, we just keep adding more and more jobs without any more housing, and that's a recipe for disaster. At least with the Folktails faction. So let's see here. What is our drought here in Cycle 12 got for us? How many days? 20 days. Okay. So, that is... Quick back of my last remaining brain cell math. 1,800 water is not going to cut the mustard on that one. But that is part of the reason why we built this larger dam here, so we can have plenty of water storage. We got all these guys doing all the pumping. Should be okay. Should be fine. Long term, we're going to have more of a power problem than anything else. But remember, that's why I have gravity batteries. We got the windmills. And we've been working slowly toward getting this area set up for more industrial stuff. Like I said, that was going to be something we're going to be really focusing on today. And we have, for the most part. But there's still more to be done. Including, we have to get paper going so we can get the large windmills. And then also, so we can get the herbalist going to make some antidote. Hopefully we don't ever have to use it, but, you know, paper is also useful for other stuff. Like we have the printing press to make books, and then punch cards for the bots. So something I should have done before we did too much else here is, I'll just do this one because it's easy to access. I'm going to make us a little power pass-through. Real simple thing. You just put an upward power shaft there, and then underneath there, you pop in a straight power shaft, and then I'm going to blow this guy up, and then put another upward power shaft there, and then that's going to take the power underneath our pathway here. And I know in the new Update 7 3D terrain stuff, which we are going to do our best to get to next episode, so hang on for that. We could put it underground, and we will at some point. But for right now, I'm more concerned with just getting this operating to where we can make use of it. So, you get that dynamite situated there. And what we're going to do is, because of the way that this is oriented, we're going to have paper mills somewhere. And I think it makes the most sense to put those right here. So they take just regular logs like everything else. We're going to end up reconfiguring this a little bit. I think what I'm going to want to do is put a pile on this corner here, move our gear storage a little bit further down this way, depending on how we want to have this set up. But we don't need to, you know, completely remove everything. We just need to plan with all of that in mind. So like I was saying, paper mills. If I put here and here, that's going to give us 2 of those. And they're going to be connected power-wise, and that should be enough output for a while. As far as paper is concerned, we just need to make sure that we have access to all of our different storage and everything. And again, if we have a log pile on this corner, that's going to be great for the paper mills, it's going to be great for the lumber mills, and so on and so forth. And we'll just need to keep on doing what we're doing. Keep an eye on our gravity batteries, install a couple more windmills as we keep on moving forward. But for where we are now, I think we're looking really, really good. In fact, the next thing that we're working on here is going to be getting this dynamite in place, which I love these zip lines so much. I know I've said it a billion times already, but this is just such a huge game changer, man. It's such a great addition to the game. And that's going to make these guys able to just get so much stuff accomplished in a tremendous fashion. And we've already made such great strides in this playthrough. Even though it's only episode 8, we're already getting into, you know, artificial irrigation and explosives and paper and all that stuff that normally takes me a lot longer than this, because we spend so much time just trying to get across the map. But now we have all sorts of opportunities to do all this other stuff, and it's really great. So that's what we're going to do the last couple minutes of this episode. Get this set up, like I said, and then get that paper going over there as well as soon as they have this taken care of. I know there's a little bit more that has to get done here. I do need to put this gear workshop back in. Get that situated. And then this has to have access with paths as well. And then we'll just get everything as best as we can. Also, can't forget that we have to have more beavers. That is something that is kind of easy to just let slip. You know, you're not paying too much attention to whatever. It's very, very easy. But, fortunately, we do have space over here that I feel like it's probably fine to just go ahead and put in a little bit more of this. Get these guys set up with a very simple, I guess technically cheesy, but, you know, still works. If it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid, it just works. Or it's stupid and it works, in which case it's totally fine. But that's going to get these guys a little bit of a little bit of a buff. But very careful to say that word correctly. As a couple of you pointed out, there are substantial benefits to getting the average well-being above 12. You know, you just click on a random beaver here. This beaver's well-being is currently 0 because they're thirsty. But if they weren't thirsty, their well-being would be 10. Of course, if it gets past 5, then that's a different thing. But the movement speed at well-being tier 12 would be substantially higher than minus 25. You get what I'm saying. I probably should click on another beaver. Yeah, okay, so this one's at 16. They got a plus 15 on the movement speed, and even though we have the zip lines that have already completely transformed the amount of work one beaver can do in a day just because the travel goes that much faster, movement speed still matters a whole lot. So if we can continue getting the average up even just 1 or 2 points, we're going to get a lot of these beavers that are going to be a lot better situated to take care of the rest of the stuff. And now that we actually have a pretty decent amount of science, we can take a look at the rest of these things, like this bulletin pole. If we put it in a convenient, I know it's 600 science, but let's actually think about this. So that's quite a lot. It is within 3 tiles, so that would be, oh yeah, putting one of these here would get all of that stuff. That actually is not a bad idea. Not a terrible idea. You know what? We'll just do that. We'll just do that. Why not? Put this thing right on the ground here so they can actually look at it. And then we can just put these wherever. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Although, I am going to commit to actually placing these in places where beavers could reasonably read them. And not just stacking them on top of a platform because that's the cheesiest way to do it. So, actually, saying that, it makes it a little bit more difficult, but putting in like a spot like this. Don't forget, when they go through zip lines, they still have to pass through that area. So, that's on a zipline path. That's a smart thing for us to be doing there. And now, look at that. The average already, I saw 14 pop up there. That bulletin pole, yeah, that's going to be a +2 when everybody gets it. That's great. That's a huge improvement. Water's up to 2,400, and look at this. Our gravity battery is going down dangerously. So let's, I can't find the P key again. Let's just pause, let's pause 3 of those gear workshops. We don't need that much gear production. Like I said, do have a couple things to take care of before we get into this episode, so I want to make sure we can actually get that stuff situated correctly. Get that going. Come over here. We should have all of this ready to go. Looks like we do. Blast away. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop this in place. And that's going to allow us to put in a tapper shack, which exact spot this goes doesn't really matter. Put that there. Put a fluid dump there. And that is going to be a pretty good early solution to what we're working on. I did want to maintain the path going all the way through here in case we wanted to do something else with that at some point in time. But, you know what? How quickly I forget. We do need the tapper shack, but we have to plant the trees first. We have to plant the trees first, so Forester goes in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, remember, keeping space for possibly putting in the, what's the thing called? The contamination barrier. I do have to leave that space available. But the rest of this, right now, could be maple trees very, very, very easily. And then we do need the pines, but it can be a substantially smaller area. This will be okay. If we start collecting the pine resin before we actually need it, then we can get away with having a smaller grove of pine trees. If that makes sense. If you follow me on that. And we do have the explosives to come in here, and we can remove some of this stuff and give ourselves a little bit of extra space to work with. You know, just as time goes by, let them start taking care of that. And how are we looking over here? Good. These are in place. I'm going to pause one of the paper mills because, again, we're not really doing anything with that stuff right now. But we want to make sure that we are at least starting that process. So, paper goes in a warehouse. Just going to build one here just so we can have somewhere to put it. And this is not like the end-all, be-all location for all this stuff. I just want to have something so that we can point to that and say, look, we accomplished that. That's good. Now, one thing I can definitely tell you over the next 14.7 days, these 2 windmills are not going to cut the mustard. So, we do have to build additional windmills, and I don't have 1,400 science. I probably should have unlocked these first, to be perfectly honest with you. But, no, can't go back, so let's just go ahead and put a couple more of these small ones in place, and we'll unlock those when we have the chance. At some point, once my my science allows that to be a thing. But putting in, 3 more of these is really going to help our situation with our gravity batteries that are rapidly discharging. And of course, we can still come over here if we're careful. Okay, that's already the bottom of the map, so that's not going to work. But if I come over here, and I can go ahead and get these guys blasted out just one more level. Then I can come in here, and I can make myself a little platform for these guys. Overhangs, regrettably, actually, no, you know what? That's going to make the most sense to do it that way. Get my 3x1 overhang, because we're going to use those in other spots too. Just get that situated there. There, and there, and I should have enough. Yeah, look at that, folks. We're going to make some tremendous strides here, boys and girls. Look at that. We're just absolutely, well, more than doubling. Not quite tripling our power reserve. And more than doubling, not quite tripling the passive generation for the windmills. You'll love to see it. I hope we have enough materials to build that stuff. I think we're probably fine. We're probably looking okay. But for right now, what I can do is I can go ahead and pause these 2 water pumps. Our water storage is just about full. And I'm going to pause these 3 as well. Get those beavers back in place. We got 15 kits, 60 adults. So they're getting that going as well. Our average well-being is 14. Now it's 15. Now it's 14 again. Click on a random beaver. 16. Nice. So that gives us the plus 40 for being well-being. 15. That gives us the plus 20% for being 7 life expectancy. Okay. Now we get this guy to 17. It's going to be plus 40. Look at us go. Look at us go. It pays such great dividends to get our well-being up early. And I know I don't normally do it. But I'm trying. I'm trying, folks. We're going to get it done, and it's going to be cool. Lanterns are another really cheap thing for us to build that are not going to be really difficult to put in different places. So I'd like for them to be close enough to the houses for that to be a thing, but the way these paths are set up, it's probably not really going to be viable. So one of these right here for sure would be a smart thing to do, because this is a pretty well, I guess this isn't really important, but that's going to be traveled a lot. So that's going to be smart to put there. This would also be not a bad place to pop one of those guys. Yeah, I think we can be pretty happy with that. Paper, wow, we've already made 64. If only I would have saved my science. We could have large windmills by now. Oh well. Can't win them all. Gonna go ahead and pause these Badwater pumps. I really should have done that when the drought started. But now we're only down 7 vacancies. And I think most of that's coming out of the builders' huts. Or it should be. No, it's coming out of the inventors. Okay, well, we need to be making some science. So we do have one guy in there. And as these beavers grow up, we are going to decrease that. It's going to be fine. Should be totally okay. Making some... Oh, yeah, look at this. Making some nice progress here. Just got to keep this moving. Get a little bit more of this done, and then we will unfortunately have to say goodbye for today. But don't you worry, because since I had several days in a row, I haven't recorded a video since Friday, and it's currently Tuesday. And honestly, I probably should have waited another day or two, but you know, you let it go too long, and then YouTube was like, well, I don't want to play with you anymore. It's like that scene from Toy Story. Right? So, whether it's good for me or not, I absolutely got to keep making these videos, or yeah, you know. But I was also getting really antsy not making these anyway, because, you know, it's really fun. Aside from any, like, algorithmic concerns or whatever, I really like doing this, man. And any day I can't do it just feels bad. Like, it's just such a really great part of my day to get to sit here and have fun with the Beaver game and think about what you guys might have to say in response to stuff that I do or don't do. And think about the fun we can continue to have in this series. And it's just such a great part of my life, and I'm glad we get to share it with each other. So I guess that being said, it's probably a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I know I'm looking over there. It's right about the hour mark. I do try to keep these around that length. But yeah, we're already looking pretty good over here for our maples and our pine trees. Reminder that this forester has to stay here until all the trees are planted, but then it's going to get replaced with a tapper shack, assuming that I remember to do that. But outside of that, well, we're out of power here. But we do have all the windmills in place. We're about to be building more gravity batteries, which is going to be a tremendous help as we continue moving forward. I think we have all the... we got all the pieces to build the rest of these. We just have to do it. So hopefully that gets done sooner rather than later. We already have some paper in place. We've already got tremendous food and water storage that we do need to continue improving. But for where we are right now, we're actually in a good spot. And our well-being is increasing, even if it's not in a great spot. I'm going to go ahead, since I know it's going to come up, I'm going to go ahead and put in another one of these campfires, I guess up here would make the most sense. Because one campfire is not enough for 75 beavers. 2 probably isn't either, but it's going to be better than 1. So there you go. I guess we can just sit here and watch them start building this stuff while we do our end of episode acknowledgements. You already know, Beard Boosters, you make it possible. Genuinely cannot do it without your support, so I really appreciate it. I do have all the computer parts. I have not had the chance to build yet because I've really felt terrible the past like 5 days. But I promise that's going to get done this week, and hopefully soon, we can make that happen. But I'm very glad to get back into these videos. Tomorrow's video, I know this is not normally what gets uploaded on this day this comes out, but tomorrow's video is going to be in this playthrough as well. We can get back on a regular schedule. I figured you guys would appreciate back-to-back episodes of the Update 7 quote-unquote new stuff, even if we haven't quite gotten to the new stuff yet, rather than getting back into the other series first. So let me know your thoughts on that, I guess, if you disagree. I always want the input. But tomorrow's episode, the next episode, I'm going to try real hard to get into that 3D terrain because I am so excited to see what we can do with that. And I know you guys are as well. So, again, really appreciate all of the support on the videos. It's been fantastic. This has been the best past, like, I don't know, 6-week span in the history of the channel, pretty much, in terms of video engagement and performance and stuff, which, you know, it's not why I do it. I do this because I really enjoy it, and the fact that it ends up being a substantial contributor to me being able to afford to exist as a human being is just the icing on the cake. So I really appreciate you guys. Once again, have a fantastic rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back again tomorrow for more Beaver fun. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.